Hey there, everybody. Time again for Make It With Me Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. Despite I know we had rain around here, not sure what it was like for everybody else, but kind of put a damper on a few things here and there, but for the most part was pretty darn good. So I am going to flip this around and hopefully my Zoom is working this week. Okay, let's try that again. I don't know why I cannot zoom. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, that is just really, really odd. I do not understand why I can no longer zoom. Well, all right. I'm gonna do again what I did last week, which is I'll just keep holding things up toward the camera so that you can see them better. I think I have to just practice with this and see if I can figure out what in the heck is going on with that thing. All right, so I'm gonna wait a few seconds, minute, whatever here, for people to hop in and see if they're going to be joining me live or not. So if you're here, you can feel free to just pop up with a comment and I should be able to see that. All right. Waiting for some other people to show up here. We'll just chit chat a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and remind you guys that this mini catalog is set to end at the end of June. So we're almost down to just a month left. If there were things in there that you are definitely looking to get, you can kind of shoot me a note and I can tell you if they are continuing on or not. It should be easy to tell now though that we have our big catalog. You should be able to see what's coming in and what isn't. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the inspiration piece for tonight's cutting of cardstock. On page 59 of this January to June. Hi Aunt Mary, how you doing? On this page 59, there's this Enjoy the Moment stamp set, which I have, and this is the inspiration sample that I based this one off of. So as you can see, it's got 3 little panels, the piece of DSP and the base, and this is where I said the ribbon can be optional. So there's a little tie going around, as you can see. That's where you're going to be putting that ribbon or twine if you decided to go ahead and get that into your layout tonight. Hi Kathy. All right, so again, page 59 of that one, or page 26 of the big catalog, which means yes, this stamp set is carrying over into the large catalog. Hi Carol, good, thanks for joining me tonight. All right, so again, in case you missed it earlier, I don't know why I still can't zoom in, so I'm gonna try to lift things up toward the camera as best as I can, and hopefully you guys can make this out. So if you were following along with the cutting directions for tonight, you needed a piece of cardstock that's 5.5 by 8.5. Score at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using smoky slate. You needed a piece of designer series paper or some kind of pattern paper that is 3 by 5. I'm going to also use a smoky slate based one. Yours can be coordinated, you know, obviously whatever you have. You're going to use it in this horizontal position. And mine is also a smoky slate from the family of designer series paper stacks. So there's patterns on both sides of this one. This is this one's kind of, I don't know what to call it, kind of honeycomb like, but not exactly. And then this one has this cute little dotted pattern on the back. So I'm going to be using that side of that. And then you wanted 3 pieces of neutral cardstock. I'm using vanilla. You needed 2 pieces that were 1.25 inches by 3.5, and you needed 1 piece that was 1.5 by 3.5. Okay. And again, I'm going to bring this up so you can kind of see where we're headed with this. This is what we're going to be copying today. So you should have a stamp set that has phrase and some other small or large images in it. And the reason I asked you guys to grab some washi or some Scotch tape is that this is going to be a little bit easier if we put these 3 pieces together first and then separate them again later. So you're going to take just a little bit of that Scotch tape, and because we don't need to use both sides, if you peel it off later and it rips a little bit, it's not going to be a big deal because it's going to be the back side and you won't see it at all. So a little piece of Scotch tape on the underside of each of those, and just get them in as close as you can with the borders matching, like that. So you can see there's a little bit of a gap there, but that's not a big deal. That'll get covered up, or not, you know, we're going to take these back apart and also. But like I said, this was just easier to work with for me anyway, having them all attached together. And I thought about just having you guys start with a piece that size and we would cut it, but you really want the centerpiece, this 1.5 inch wide one, to have the verse fit on it. And I was afraid like I would stamp mine a little off and then you'd cut the verse in half or something like that. So that was more about, I wanted to make sure mine got centered and I thought this was the better way to go. All right, so I'm gonna let's grab your phrase first and we're gonna build around that. So I'm gonna be using Soft Succulent, which is one of the new in colors. And it doesn't want to close up for me right now. There we go. Okay. And I'm using the phrase from this stamp set that says, friendship is found in the simple things. All right, so ink up your phrase. Make sure you've got it going the right direction. And you're going to put it about in the middle, top to bottom, left to right, of that 1.5 inch wide piece. Okay, so you're going to want, again, a phrase that's not wider than 1.5 inches. Put it about in the center. Set that aside because I'm going to use that color again. All right, these are all different kinds of seed pods, I believe from various places around the world where we actually have Stampin' Up! Demonstrators. So we have them in like the South Pacific, we have them in Europe, and we have them in North America. And I believe that was the idea behind this one, is that they were representative of all of the places in the world that we have Stampin' Up! So, you know, Kathy, it's funny, it's growing on me. It really wasn't my, it wasn't one I would have picked for myself. We were given this one as a free item for attending an event. And it's funny because my taste tends to lean like anything that they give me at a free event, I kind of go, huh, well, I don't know if I would have gone with that one, you know, but then the more I see it used and the more, I love the samples that are shown in the catalog. I'm getting, like I said, I'm kind of getting, it's growing on me. All right, I am going to use Basic Gray to stamp this larger pad. So you guys grab your images and start filling in the space around where your phrase is. All right, and I wanted to stamp these off so that they don't hit quite as dark. And I'm just building around a little bit. You're gonna fill in with other images as well, so you can hit that however you would like, however many you wanna have around. Then I'm gonna take my next images in Smoky Slate. I'm gonna use this straight on. So again, take whatever stamp set imagery you've got and use it to fill in the spaces. I like to take my thing sometimes and just rotate through as I'm stamping. That way you get things turned in different directions, not always facing the same way, etc. I think that it lends for a more natural look to something that you're trying to completely stamp over. Also make sure you're stamping off the edges. Again, that makes it feel more complete and finished as opposed to being framed, okay? It's okay to have images or parts cut off. For this particular spot of what we're doing. I keep everything over here so I remember to clean it later. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to go back to my Soft Succulent, and I'm going to take the tiny little seeds and just fill in the empty spaces of where I see a big gap. And again, I'm stamping off because I didn't want full on of this color because I want the focus of the phrase to still be central. Okay, and I think just a tiny touch, right, whoops, I missed it, right up there. Okay, so after you have it mostly filled in, take a step back and look at it and make sure that you think you have it the way you like it. So I'm gonna hold mine up a little bit so you can see. So you should have an image in the middle, and then you're gonna fill in the space around, or I should say a phrase in the middle, and then you're gonna fill in around the edges with multiple or single, same one. You could have the exact same pattern repeated. If you have like a beautiful flower or something that you're using, just repeat it across and around. Again, stamp some of them off, stamp some of them on, and it makes for a more complete look once you're all done. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys a moment to finish that up and I'll show you where you're gonna go next. You're gonna take your card base and fold that in half and give it a good crease. Now this is where if you had a thin ribbon or a twine, this is where it's gonna come into play. You can either wrap it around the DSP piece before you put it onto your card front, or you can wrap it around the entire thing, so you would go around to the inside as well, if you want it to go all the way across your across your card base, okay? My particular first version does not have ribbon, so I'm gonna go ahead and adhere that down, and then I'll show you guys where we're going. Okay, and once again, I forgot to bring my dimensionals over. There is always one thing that I leave over in my traditional workspace and not in my camera space. Always something. Either my scissors or my glue dots or my dimensionals. It's always something. Okay, where did they go though? There they are. Okay, so give me a couple thumbs up or something that tells me that you are kind of caught up to where I am. I don't want to get too far ahead of you. All right, so there's my dimensionals. All right. How's everybody doing out there? And again, remember, when you guys are done with these, you can feel free to upload them to this thread so that we can all see what you made. I always like seeing, some of you guys text them to me, some of you email them to me, which is great. You can also feel free to upload and post them right onto the thing. Hey Tina, looks like you just popped on. Let me give you a little bit of a catch-up spot. We took our 3 pieces of our neutral cardstock and we taped them together. Okay, we taped them together with a little Scotch tape or washi because we're going to take them apart again later. So your 1.5 inch wide one goes in the middle, your 1.25 go on the side. You're going to put your phrase in the middle of that 1.5 panel and then stamp around it with your images so that they're catching up, or that they're filling in the empty space. Okay, you've attached your 3x5 DSP to the card front. And again, if you wanted the ribbon or twine, make sure you've tied it around at this point, because after this we're going to be covering up that area and you're not going to have access to it. Okay, so tie that ribbon or twine if you're using it. So then you're going to take things that you stamped and just peel the tape off. And again, if you rip a little bit off the back, don't worry, because again, that's the side that's facing down and you won't see it. But I find it peels off pretty easy if it's only been on there for a little bit. All right, I'm going to start with my center panel because I find it's easier to center and work left and right of that. Yeah, Kathy, exactly. If it's something I want to fit back together again, if it's something if I'm just creating, for example, like my own DSP pattern or something, I just stamp a whole big thing and then cut it up into pieces. But for this one, I wanted to cut first so that I could definitely get that phrase centered in just the right spot. Okay, so put your dimensionals on the 4 little corners. You kind of see them, right? I've really got to figure out what happened to the zooming feature on my video. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, so here's the trick. Make sure you've got the card opening the correct way and your words are facing the correct way. I have assembled a card upside down, I will admit it, more than once. Okay, so that is now popped up off there. Like I said, you're basically going center left to right. I need to straighten mine out a little bit. There we go. Okay, then you have the 2 pieces that you stamped that should fit on the opposite sides, and make sure you've got them. If you're reassembling them with the gap in between, they're going to look like that. Okay, I'm going to take and pop those up on dimensionals as well into the 4 corners. And this is why I said, again, you want your ribbon or your twine down before you get to this point, because now you don't have access to that layer that you have now covered up with these panels. Now you can leave as much or as little of a gap as you want. I'm leaving a very little gap because then I'll still see my DSP clearly along the sides. Since mine is kind of tone on tone, I wanted to make sure at least part of it was peeking through. Okay, so for this piece, I'm gonna go, this is my piece that goes on the left. And as you can see, I'm leaving just a tiny little gap, just a tiny gap, so that more of my DSP shows on the edges. Okay, and then you're gonna do the same thing with that other piece. Whoop. Always the most exciting part, right? Watching me take my dimensional backings off. All right, again, make sure that your images are lining up. You've got that facing the correct direction. And then you will set it about the same distance. Okay, so there you go. You've got your 3 panels. You could put them straight on if you like. I like the popped up version a little bit, especially if you used a ribbon or twine. It would just be a little lumpy or bumpy if you tried to put that directly over. All right, so again, that is an inspiration directly from the catalog on page 59 of the January to June mini. So it's like this one right here. And as you can see, similar concept. They stamped the phrase, they stamped all the seedlings in different colors, and have the DSP piece and the card base there in different colors to bring out the different colors that they used in their stamps. Okay, so I'm going to leave that here, and then I'll show you, of course, some of the other versions I made. This one is using the prized peony set. And so I've mixed a little bit of old with a little bit of new. So I've used Fresh Freesia, which is kind of the lighter, almost pinky purple looking flowers. Those are stamped in Fresh Freesia. And the rest is Highland Heather, which is an older color. I've used the Prize Peony set, which is carrying over from it's on page 73 of the new catalog. And then I used the new hand-penned DSP, which you can find on page 131 of the new catalog. That has beautiful florals. It's just amazing. I love it, love it, love it. And the back sides have these really cute little patterns too, a little bit more toned down. But the florals, again, for that particular DSP pack are stunning. Absolutely love them. And again, all of that came from Prized Peony, so the phrase as well. Okay. Then I used the Dragonfly Garden, which is currently in the mini catalog but carrying over to the large one. And I used Misty Moonlight and Bumblebee. So kind of a different color concept for what you might think of for this stamp set. So I used the large flowers there, and then a little bit of stamped off one right there. I stamped the little butterflies, or no, not butterflies, what would they be? Mayflies? It's some kind of little cluster of bugs. And then the phrase, that there's a very tiny phrase that I then compensated for with big imagery. So same kind of concept, where here's like a little bit of a smaller phrase, or larger phrase, and I brought the tone of the imagery down a little bit. So there again, the 3 panels. The DSP comes from Pansy Petals, which is, a complete different scheme from where this stamp set might be located, but the color was perfect. It's just a bumblebee. I know, I thought the same thing, Tina. Mosquitoes? I'm like, but they look cute, and mosquitoes aren't cute, but they seem too tiny to be butterflies, so I'm not sure what exactly they're supposed to be, but but that's really funny, because I thought that same thing. I'm like, they're mosquitoes. No, that doesn't seem right. We wouldn't celebrate mosquitoes. And then, as always, I take what I showed you guys tonight, and I will show you a stepped up version. So for this particular one, I added twine, and I added a layer around each of the layers themselves. Okay, so I added black just to kind of make things pop. Okay, so I added a black layer behind the DSP, and then I tied the twine, I did a twine across, and I tied a bow separate and stuck it on the top layer. So I didn't take the twine all the way around the card. This helps keep it a little flatter for me. And then I added again a panel of black behind each one of those stamped panels. So it just kind of makes things pop a little more. Again, absolutely nothing wrong with this one. It's absolutely awesome and adorable, or pretty, or something. But again, this one just brings it up a notch. So that's literally what stepping it up is all about. You just take it to another level, another level of interest, another level of difficulty, or something like that. So there are those two guys side by side. So same color scheme, same everything. I just added black cardstock to the back of each of the layers, and of course the black twine. And if you're wondering where that comes from, because we haven't had baker's twine for a while. Baker's twine now comes in a combination pack. You get crumb cake, white, gray granite, vanilla, and black. There's 10 yards of the crumb cake and the white, and 5 yards of the other 3. And that's on page 140 of the big catalog, the new big catalog. So I love that twine is back. It's one of my go-tos when I just need a little tiny something. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to find twine back in the catalog. One of my favorite things. Thanks, Mary. I thought the black added, I was almost afraid it was going to be a little too harsh, but once I see the finished piece, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Like I said, it's just a tiny frame, and it really just makes all those different elements pop, I think, really cool. All right, so again, I'm going to bring this down just a little bit, the samples from tonight. Okay, so here's the one I created on screen, and the stepped up version that has the black layers, and here's the peony. And apparently my children upstairs are playing video games and are in a very excited moment. I don't know if you can hear them screaming, but I promise you, no one's dying. It's just excitement of video gaming. All right, everybody, that should do it for episode 13. Can you believe we've been doing this for 13 weeks already? That is absolutely crazy to me. All right, so I want to see what you guys made. Feel free to upload that or send it to me so I can see a copy when you guys are done with what you're stamping. Thanks again so much for joining me, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.